Hello there. Welcome to Midland Earth Fellaship episode. This week we are going to be focusing on Star Wars, seeing as May the 4th is just around the corner. It's also, at the time of filming, Star Wars Celebration Weekend, so we probably will be reacting to some live news and events that come out from that as we go. Joining myself and Matt today, we've got Marc, Kirk and Oliver. So hopefully we'll get a nice variety of opinions. Do you want to kick off, Matt?
Should we start with some celebration news and see what people think of that?
Yeah. In terms of what's been announced so far at Celebration, we've had two little teasers for the Mandalorian and Grogu film, which is coming out next May 2026. They've announced Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling. Bit of an odd choice. Darth Maul's getting his own TV series, animated show. So Maul Shadow Lord. And the most recent update as well is that Rory McCann is going to be replacing Ray Stevenson as Baylan Skull in the Ahsoka Season 2. What do you guys think?
I think a lot of them are very different and will have different reactions. Some were expected, obviously with the Mandalorian and Grogu film being announced. You know, even in like the last Star Wars Celebration, that we had the gap between the Mandalorian Season 3, and kind of seeing how that story ended to what they could potentially do moving forward. So I'm excited with that. You know, Pedro Pascal's everywhere at the moment, isn't he? You know, with honestly, he's
Daddy
just,
Pascal.
Yeah.
He's not any other things at all.
Honestly, and seeing what he was wearing at the Star Wars Celebration as well, like, is he going to turn like fashion icon? You know, with his sense of style that he's wearing. But yeah,
I actually thought when I saw the picture, the little clip from all I was at work last night, wasn't paying much attention because I should have been working.
Yeah.
I thought, why has he walked out in Japan wearing lederhosen? But it wasn't. It was just like
a
black shorts and then really high
Mm-hmm.
socks and a like a t-shirt type thing.
Yeah.
But it just, you know, you're just looking through the lederhosen in Japan. At least try and come out in like a kimono or something.
But they said what the film's going to be about. So does anyone have any clues about what the plot is? What's going to happen in it? Is it going to go straight from season 3?
I'm imagining it's a continuation of the TV series, and it's going to possibly lead into the Thrawn film.
Is the
Obviously, they're
Mandalorian and Grogu the culmination of Dave Filoni thing, or was that a different film?
This is a different one, so I think the culmination is more than likely going to be Heir to the Empire.
Okay.
But this is just, I think instead of giving him season 4, they're just going to give him a film, and then he'll just cameo in other things from now on, I think.
Because with the Heir to the Empire, obviously, Dave Filoni is very big with like the canon and very big at making sure that he doesn't upset as many Star Wars fans as he can. Because you know, he's one of the biggest, if not the biggest fan, and having the privilege to do stuff like that. So I think any little tidbits he can do to help that out, I think is always helpful. But yeah, I think when we saw the end of the season 3, when obviously Grogu kind of makes his decision and he comes back, and all these different things that were happening, they went to Mandalore, of course, and the importance of that, and being, you know, relinquished of that stress when he took his helmet off and stuff, and going in the waters. Hopefully we get to see Bo-Katan again, which would be really good and whatnot. So yeah, hopefully just a continuation and adding different people in, because we saw was it the Mandalorian? We saw the cameo of Zeb.
Yeah,
well,
Zeb's
right?
back from Rebels.
So maybe he could be seen, because we've not seen him in anything bar that, right? And
He
live
had,
action.
he had a brief cameo in season 2 of
Yeah.
The Mandalorian, just very briefly.
Just in a bar.
Yeah,
Just in the
he
bar,
was,
yeah. Obviously, you've not seen him outside of Rebels, so this will be
That
like
could be
his
cool.
proper.
Yeah, I don't feel like they would have dropped him in if they didn't have anything plans-wise to do with him, at least. And especially when people are so dedicated to the Star Wars series that when they see someone, they manifest it and it starts going on, and hopefully future projects. So yeah.
Saw one of didn't mention it. One of the other casting elements to this is that I've not seen this series. The Bear.
History or something.
Yeah,
It's on
is
Disney.
it on
Together.
Disney as well. I think the lead actor from that is going to be doing the voice work, at least, for Jabba the Hutt's son in the Mando film.
Yeah. Is he going to be jacked or something?
Yeah, he's
I thought he was going to be dead jacked.
He's a gladiator Hutt now, so he's just
The species is evolving.
yeah. So he's got like dead ripped, muscly arms, and then obviously he's still just a Hutt, so he's just dead flabby.
Could you just imagine it? You know, like when Anakin's doing the pod racing and Jabba was obviously there. If they just had this massive jacked up Hutt, like watching all these people
Just
race.
someone down in the pit lane is just waiting dumbbells.
Yeah. Just going out, Dad. And he's there going. But the problem is, so what? It's been 3 series, haven't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And now they're doing a film. They're going to end up in that Marvel trap of right. To enjoy this film completely, you're going to have to pay for Disney Plus, and you're going to have to watch 24 episodes of this TV series to understand that completely. So if you just want to get the average Joe going, oh, it's a Star Wars film, I'll go and watch that. You're basically going to have to. It's going to be like an episode 1 story, or a season 1 story, where you can just go right, take the elements of that, and just do it because the mass audience hasn't seen.
Yeah, if you're not got if you're not subscribing to Disney Plus, you're gonna not fully understand the.
And it's not one of those things you can either put at the start of the film like a recap, because there's that much to go through that you'd be spending the start of the film recapping.
You've got like 20 minutes.
3 seasons.
Star Wars scroll thing.
Yeah.
Abbreviate it.
Yeah.
For the people that haven't watched it.
Otherwise, you end up with like the Suicide Squad beginning, where you're introducing all these characters.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's like that's not
Which one?
the first one.
The crap one or the slightly better one?
I enjoyed both, but the first one, the Will Smith one,
Yeah.
where they introduce that's that character in a 30-second flashback. That's that. You can't really do that for a new.
I don't actually think I watched it. That version. I saw the trailer, and
You haven't watched the Suicide.
I saw the second one.
So
You
the first one.
I saw the trailer, and it just didn't wow me at all. And then it was like, oh, and Jared Leto is going to be playing the Joker. And that's it, I'm done.
Yeah, that was a bit.
So I didn't watch that one. I didn't watch it. I watched the second one.
Well, the first one basically starts how they edited it. Right, these are all your characters, and all these sort of quick shots and flashbacks, and then they do the same thing again for each character 2 minutes later. You don't really want that for it. This new Mandalorian film is supposed to be like a new franchise for the film industry. You don't want to go right. Here's 2 minutes of flashbacks for that. Here's 2 minutes flashbacks for that. By the way, that's a character from episode 6 of series 2. It just becomes complicated. You just have to start fresh.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to do it.
You were saying before off camera, that's the problem with Marvel as well at the moment, is that they are. You've got the Thunderbolts coming out, but
You've got to do homework. You've
Yeah.
got one film. I mean, what's the next one out? Thunderbolts in it.
Thunderbolts.
So, from my knowledge, you've got to watch Black Widow.
Yep.
Hawkeye, the Disney Plus series. I think it connects into
you
that.
would do, yeah, because of Yelena. Yeah.
Second Ant-Man film, because the Ghost Lady's in it.
Yep. Falcon
Um,
Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, because you've got Bucky and the bad Captain America guy who cut that guy's head off. There's another one I can't place, but I'm thinking this one. Well, if you just say that, that's 4 films and TV shows that you've got to watch just to enjoy this 2.5 hour.
But then there'll even be little things in there, like in the trailer they mentioned about the Avengers not being around anymore. You've then got to go further back to.
Again, it's homework. You shouldn't. I'm going to the cinema to enjoy a film. You shouldn't go right. I've got to watch 3 films and 16 episodes of a TV series. You want something a bit right. It's a fresh start.
Depends how they do it, though, doesn't it? Because like when I went to watch Deadpool Wolverine, a few of my friends were like, well, to fully appreciate that, you need to go and watch Loki episodes 4, 5, and 6, and And I watched like one of them, and I was like, I ain't got time to watch all of this. And I did it. I enjoyed Deadpool Wolverine without understanding
taking it
everything
as it is.
behind it. Right, but I guess as a fan, you're going to go, we know who these time traveling people are and time police are and all that sort of stuff. If it's done right, then normal people can understand it. But if it's too deep into the story
Yeah.
that's already there. Like you said, if it doesn't start off fresh, if it's sort of continuing, no one's going to know what's going on
Yeah.
if they haven't watched the first 3 seasons of The Mandalorian.
Like I say, it's behind the paywall. And these days, people struggle a bit these days. If you can save a tenner a month by cutting off Disney Plus, some people are going to do that. But then you want these people to go watch a new film that's connected to a TV show behind a paywall. It's just
Pay the subscription fee and just don't feed a kid for a week.
you're I thought you were on a stroke then.
Depends if it gets released in the cinema as well, doesn't it?
I imagine they will do because they're moving a film. Disney.
I thought it wasn't in the cinema. It's not Disney Plus.
When it comes to the films, they tend to put them in the cinema now anyway because obviously it's more revenue for Disney. So they'll release it. I think the cinema releases for any Disney film these days. They have like a 40-day exclusivity in the cinema, so they can pull in as much money as they can, and then they'll put it on Disney Plus whilst it's still in the cinema.
Again, you're not making as much money as you possibly could you? Because you trained your audience to stay at home now for 40 days and then just watch it on.
As much as going to the cinema these days bugs the hell out of me because you go in there, you'll sit there.
It's full of people, isn't it?
It really is.
It is sort of the point I'm getting at. It is full of people, but let's face it, going to the cinema itself isn't a social occasion. You are there to enjoy what is being shown to you on the big screen. But now you go in there, you've got people sitting there chatting to each other because they can't sit in silence for 2 hours, checking the bloody phones all the time, or getting up to go out to answer the phone. It's really annoying, and I think that's the problem that we've had because of obviously what happened back in 2020 when the pandemic and whatnot, and everything was closed. People have got used to them being at home. Everything's available on streaming. Oh, I can answer my phone. I can do that. Now I think you can do it in the cinema. Whereas beforehand, you might have the odd one or two people in pre-2020 that would be a bit of an arsehole in the cinema. But now everyone is.
I know what cinema I go to. Yeah, I'd vouch for that.
It's a problem. It's
could be worse. Could be that Minecraft level of craziness. That's just them clips of the live chickens and there's popcorn in the air.
I think the gamers have gone mad and
they're trying to reenact what you do in the game in the cinema when they're seeing it happen on the film. I think.
That's interesting. That's a new level of
The guy
immersiveness.
sneaks a live chicken in and he literally gets it out when the chicken fight's on and he wait and then the lights come on in the cinema and the staff enter and it's like, wow, this is next level of craziness.
Kind of sidetracked ourselves a bit there.
Well, Jack Black's in Star Wars. So
He did. He had a cameo in season 3 of The Mandalorian.
He did.
And
When he was that
What was
rich,
the
was he the
Mandalorian?
rich?
Yeah.
He was the rich like husband, wasn't he?
yeah, so it was
Lizzo.
him and Lizzo and Christopher Lloyd was also in that episode as well. So it was very much a.
Wasn't it like
Was
he
it
was
Kirk or yourself? One of you said to me at some point this week in a message something about was it you maybe?
What?
They're trying to use big name celebrities to they're just popping them in to try and bring people into. Oh, Jack Black's in that episode. I'm going to watch it type
Ryan
thing.
Gosling being cast in a film. It seems a bit weird.
He's a big Star Wars fan.
Really? I don't know.
It's like Kelsey Grammer appearing in whatever Star Trek he did. Was it a film
He
or
was
Next Generation?
No, he was Search for Spock, the third Star Trek film. He played a Klingon. Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer. No,
Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, he appears on the screen as a
Oh,
captain for literally
yeah,
30
he's
seconds.
in.
But he's a big Star Trek fan.
He's
so
in. I think it's Next
he's
Gen.
into it. Next Gen.
Next Gen. Yeah.
If
Sorry,
you're
I
a-
thought you meant Christopher Lloyd.
If
Sorry.
you're a fan of a show or a film series and you got do you want to come in for half a day and do a cameo, people do it these days because just for the fun.
I think it's Ryan Gosling's film, though, isn't it? From the sounds of it, which is
Yeah.
I think they're verging towards trying to appeal to.
Showcase like the difference between Star Wars always being on that edge, just being for the plot and having those unknown names. You know, me and Matt were talking off camera on the way down today about the importance of like having those unknown names, then becoming a name because of Star Wars, not people who have already got names trying to mix with Star Wars, which has already got the name, the reputation with it. So we only have to look at, like you say, the Mandalorian season 3 with Jack Black. We've had, the skeleton crew with Jude Law coming in and a big name to try and get a series that maybe wouldn't have appealed to so many people, but because Jude Law's in it, people might give it a go.
I mean, they bring like a fan base with them, don't they?
Is-
Ryan
yeah.
Gosling has been in loads of things, so he can bring people with him.
Is that the Disney effect though? Is
Yeah.
that Disney? Because like you say beforehand, all right, the original trilogy you can't really fully. The three main characters in there, Harrison Ford had been in a few films before Star Wars, but obviously Mark Hamill was relatively unknown.
Was unknown.
Carrie Fisher was relatively unknown. The big names in that film were Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing.
Yeah, so they were supported by
And
strong
then-
actors.
But they were more the supporting
They
cast,
were,
I
that's
suppose.
true, yeah.
And then obviously you look at the prequels.
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor was up and coming because
He
he
was pretty biggish at that
Trainspotting
time.
had already been out at that point,
Trainspotting had
hadn't
been
it?
out, yeah.
Obviously Liam Neeson, but Natalie Portman was.
Yeah,
That's
no,
right.
Mars Attacks was probably the biggest thing she'd been in before Phantom Menace.
Yeah, and Hayden Christensen. But remember, people
Hayden
slagged
Christensen.
off Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But they
His
still,
cast
even with
and
those,
everything about him, it took years before people appreciated him.
but even with those two trilogies to begin with, you still had those.
Samuel
Unknowns.
Jackson was in it.
Well, yeah, I
He's the epitome of some famous person who wants to be in Star
Yeah.
Wars. I've Another got my famous fan, purple
innit?
lightsaber and all that
But
sort
then
of stuff.
the sequel trilogy, the three main. Daisy Ridley wasn't pretty much known. John Boyega was. He'd been in that.
Yeah.
Attack the
Attack
Block
the
was
Block,
it? That was
yeah,
it.
that's it.
Oscar Isaac would probably have been in a few things, and then the original trio were the supporting cast. But then,
Yeah.
as soon as Disney have gone and got the TV shows, it's like I say, and now the newer films, they're just all big names.
I
And
think-
is that to do with, like I say, they bring in a fan base, so they're thinking, oh, that's going to be more
It's got-
subscriptions and more money and things like that. Is it?
But it would affect the story, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because they'll have to change how they present it.
Mm.
If you've got Ryan Gosling as the star in that film, it's going to be a different type of Star Wars film, isn't it? Well, what his last big film was Barbie, wasn't it? Are they
Yeah.
trying to ride off the popularity of that, and it saves some money on
Did,
the marketing?
All guy.
Fall Guy, that was he was a stuntman, he was playing a stuntman, wasn't he?
That bombed over the cinema.
Did it?
didn't
Yeah.
I don't think it made its money back.
But you got to think, if they're trying to ride his wave, it's in another 2 years. Like
Yeah.
it's not as much as you're striking iron hot now with him, and they've announced it. And yes, it's great right now. You've still got to wait all that time. How long they've been talking about this Mandalorian film that was going to be directed by this person, then it was going to be directed by this person. Obviously, the final decision they've made was different from the original. Is that yes, it's good right now, but the effect it'll have in 2-3 years' time. There's so many things that can go good, wrong in between that time. I think the biggest thing I think of with Star Wars now is that they'll have dedicated films and series towards like the really hardcore fans that people can really grit their teeth into, and then they'll have other shows and films that the general public will come and see. And I think The Mandalorian and Grogu will be something that people who love Star Wars and are dedicated will go and see. And then they'll have this one with Ryan Gosling in that the general public will see. And they're trying to find that happy medium.
It's going to be a standalone, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not related to anything that's come before. Like you were saying, Mark, you won't have to do any homework for this film. You could just go in and watch 2 hours of Ryan Gosling. We don't quite know what he's going to be, whether just Star Wars starfighter. He could be someone for the Rebellion. He could be someone from Imperial Remnant. But you're not going to have done your homework type thing.
But the problem is Disney have set that standard now. Going, oh, you want to watch that film, you've got to watch this and this and this. So now it's about breaking that and going, no, you don't need to watch them. You can just watch this standalone. What would he Rogue One was classed as a Star Wars story. Was that the?
Yeah.
And then the Han Solo. If they bring that back and sort of train your audience again, so you don't need to understand this. It's standard film.
Rogue One, I will maintain, is the best of the Disney era in terms of this film. It's based off a paragraph in the crawl from A New Hope, and they made an entire 2.5 hour film out of it, and it was brilliant. And I actually enjoyed the Solo film as well. It was, a nice little space romp heist film with a young Han Solo one, but obviously it bombed in the cinema because it came out 6 months after Last Jedi, which was so polarizing that people went and watched it and then was like, oh, it's awful. But Solo film wasn't that bad. And again, you didn't have to do. You knew the character, you knew Han, you knew Chewie, you knew Lando. You didn't need to know much more than that. You just go in and enjoy it.
How good or bad is Star Wars that sometimes you watch a film initially and you feel a certain way, but then you'll watch it a year or 2 years afterwards and hopefully you change your opinion, or you always keep the same opinion on those. So for like, if we look at the next trilogy after the original, when it, like you said about Hayden Christensen's hate and all on those, but now we're in 2025, people love those films maybe more than the original, and our outlook on how those films are, maybe in 2-3 years time people will think Solo's even better, so even though it was bad at the time, I think people's adaptations and outlooks on them are different. So
I think it's different as well because of the newer media that's come out. So I find that people now appreciate the prequels more because the sequels didn't live up to the expectation. They've made the prequels look better. And like I say, Hayden Christensen now, he's going through a full renaissance, effectively, because this is his second celebration that he's at in the space of 2 years. He's doing his cameos back as Anakin Skywalker. Everyone's loving him, but take it back 20 years ago when Revenge of the Sith came out, like Kirk said, he's getting so much hate.
A lot of hate. I remember at the time that people were saying, "Oh, that Hayden Christensen, it was a better performance." They were saying than in Attack of the Clones because they just called him whiny. They said, "Oh, he's just really whiny. But he's like a stroppy teenager," and he is, but he is a teenager in it, isn't he? That's the thing. Because they were like, "Oh, he should be Darth Vader." They couldn't get that. They couldn't.
The gap in between.
Journey. Yeah, they couldn't understand it. I loved it, and I loved Revenge of the Sith. I was always like, "Oh my god, it's like one of my favourite Star Wars films." Saw it at the cinema, literally got mouth open, going, "What am I watching?" And I really liked Attack of the Clones when I saw that in the cinema as well. I thought it was great. The only one I still have never been able to change is the Phantom Menace. I just find it really boring.
Because it's got politics to start the film. So
and I've tried again and again. It's boring, isn't it?
Is it because Darth Maul has like 10 lines?
That didn't help.
Didn't even have that.
No, I think it's like 6 lines.
Two lines. The whole thing.
Yeah, because that grunts and they count that as a line. I think. That makes some like exasperated noise and they're like.
They had the choreography in the first in that prequel trilogy is
And the score
Well,
for
is
that.
the best.
The pod race, they're brilliant. Brilliant scenes.
but it's just broken up by
Trade
Palpatine's
Federation.
trade politics. Who would have thought that?
But
It's almost like Trump's reading out of Palpatine's playbook.
I think if we move from that to then like what they're going to do with this Maul series. For me, when I'd seen it was announced, I thought it wasn't necessarily needed. Because there's a lot out there already. Again, it might be a film to piece it all together, so you haven't got to watch all of those different shows, the films, to just understand one character. Because if not, you're wanting Phantom Menace is the first time you've ever seen him. Then the Clone Wars series comes in, and obviously he's come literally out of nowhere, had his story, then kind of goes away again after Order 66. Then gets brought back in Rebels for like some redemption arc with Obi-Wan, and then he obviously dies. Then we've seen him in Solo Story, so whether or not that's needed, because when I saw the trailer for it, they're literally just showing everything we've seen so far. So is there anything new that's going to get added to this, or what?
I've seen they have shown a full trailer celebration of the Maul series, and it's like what you were saying earlier about Dave Filoni being the biggest fan, and he puts because obviously when Disney took over, they went right, nothing's canon anymore other than the original films and the Clone Wars and Rebels. So all the books and things that had come beforehand, that's not canon anymore. And obviously Dave Filoni's come in now as like creative executive producer or whatever his role is, and he's like slowly been feeding in, like obviously he's brought Thrawn back and things like that. So with the trailer that they sort of shown and the pirated little clip of the man sat in the chair with a head in front of him, you just sort of see little bits. You're going to see Maul's apprentice in this series. So he's going to get Darth Talon, who's coming in. So he's bringing in little bits. So, and I saw actually a clip of Sam Witter, who obviously voices him. He's at Celebration, so they brought him out for him to sort of announce that, oh, this is my new TV series, I'm doing Maul again. And even he was saying, like, yeah, I've fallen out with Dave, because he's like, I thought Dave was honest with me and he'd tell me all the things and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm doing this series, and he's telling me that there's all this lore that he told me was not going to be included anymore. And now he's bringing it back in. So
I mean, roller coaster for him as well.
Out of the three major things that they've announced so far, I think the Maul series is the one I'm looking forward to the most, because he comes in Phantom Menace and you think, oh, he's badass, and then, oh, he's dead.
I've never seen all of the Clone Wars. And then brief of it. Why is he still alive? Just for someone why he got chopped in two. I've seen, right? And then he fell into a big pit, and you know.
So
his anger kept him
his
hatred kept him alive.
The line is, it's my singular hatred for you, Kenobi, has kept me alive.
Kenobi, yeah.
And he goes a bit mad, and he gets some mechanical spider legs, and then obviously he gets proper mechanical legs and whatnot.
But they then apprentice, a brother.
They then build on Maul's character in Clone Wars, and then again in Rebels, and they properly flesh him out. And you think this is how he, because I get it. Obviously, you know, the three villains in the prequel trilogy, Maul, Dooku, and Grievous, are all echoes of what Darth Vader is to become. Yeah. Maul is the person that is fueled by his hatred and anger of the Jedi. Dooku is the fallen Jedi, and then Grievous is the android, the cyborg. So they're all echoes of Vader.
That's quite cool. I didn't realise
but I just think they killed him off too early, and you could have developed him a bit more through that prequel trilogy. And they've realised that, and that's why they brought him back, and they've given him all these other story arcs.
And in the show, up until that point, you've literally just been knowing that. Because it's like set between those episodes of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, again fleshing out Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker, obviously voiced by someone different in the show, but they then realised, hey, maybe if we can put this in motion, they then put that fear for that dark side of what is going to be coming. And
let's face it, Anakin's fall to the dark side was a lot more complicated than you actually see in the films, and that's probably why he gets, like you said, in Attack of the Clones, he's seen as the whiny teenager. And Obi-Wan won't let me do this. Why can't I just sleep with Padme? Those are natural things that all teenage boys would sort of go through, type thing. But it just made it look like he's fallen to the dark side for a girl type thing. And the Clone Wars properly fleshes him out, and you realise that why he falls to the dark side. And that's probably the criticism I've got of the film, of those prequel trilogies, that it doesn't give you that full background as to why Anakin does what he does.
I mean, he is kind of like, Palpatine's the Sith Lord, and then, hang on, I'm going to kill some kids.
Yeah.
Wow. There's no middle bit.
There isn't a middle bit. It kind of just does that to that, and you're like, what?
Whereas the Clone Wars flashes out Palpatine's manipulation and Anakin falling to the dark side, obviously not seeing the Jedi as the paragons that they're supposed to be.
They throw the lines in there, but you don't really.
Like
he says, "Oh, the Jedi are evil," from my point of view. And you don't really. I couldn't understand why he thinks that.
Yeah, well, the Clone Wars series fleshes it out. So
it's too dark for a family film. Someone having it's about losing faith, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit,
but butchering some kids is perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's quite odd tonal change, but to fully appreciate it, you'd have to watch a man lose his faith and have a breakdown, basically. And I don't think you could fit that in what's supposed to be a family action sci-fi adventure film. It's getting way too dark, and then he goes and kills and reflects.
Why you prefer Andor?
You know what?
It's not as dark.
Andor is just the best Star Wars representation, in my opinion. We talked about Rogue One and that, and they managed to, of course, bring back a couple of the characters from that, and this coming out, a couple of days after we shoot this, is just going to be a breath of fresh air for Disney, for Star Wars, to get characters that it's not always full on. It's literally character development, something building. We look back to the first season, which I'm rewatching at the moment, between McKay's in his home planet, and then there's a bad deal gone wrong. Then he goes and he's going to get some redemption by going to steal from this vault, which you see is a good idea. A couple of people die, then he gets the money, then he goes to the prison, and I'm not doing it justice by just saying that, but through 12 episodes it takes you on this emotional roller coaster, which you want a TV show, a film, any media to help you with just good writing, and that's what I think Tony Gilroy does a great job of that. Obviously, I know his relationship with Disney is a bit on the note. After this season, I think that might be it for him with Star Wars. I think so. Just enjoy it while we can.
Which is a shame, really, because, like you say, the storyline and the character development have been really good. I know you've not got Disney Plus, Marc, but if you were at any point going to look at like doing the 1 month free trial and things like that.
I won't do that.
Well, no, not based off the terms and conditions. But if you were to do it,
that's the one.
I think Andor would be the series that I would recommend that you would start off with if you were to look at a Star Wars series, because it is.
See, from the outside of it, when you see all these Obi-Wan series or whatever, the one that appeals to me more is the Mandalorian.
Oh, don't get me wrong, the Mandalorian
It
is
seems
great.
like a space cowboy.
It is.
In a way.
That is it. It's literally that. But if you wanted something where you're going to get deep character development and
A bit gritty.
and like the original film, Andor's a really good one to start with.
And it isn't just a.
And the casting in it is really good as well. Bill Skarsgård in it, and his character is fantastic.
Has it got a season 2, or is it just one of them?
It's
Season
comes out on Tuesday.
Tuesday, so.
Yes.
But yeah, Bill Skarsgård in that is fantastic.
Really good, isn't it?
Is it Stellan, not Bill?
Bill
Yes,
is it,
yeah,
yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård. Sorry, my mistake. But he's really
I've not
good,
seen him.
really good, and he's, his character is one of the sort of founding members. He was one that sort of starts one of the founding members of the rebellion type thing, isn't it?
Is what, if within Star Wars, if you like the good or the bad, if you're a light side or a dark side, the characters you lean towards. I think that is good because you're cheering for Andor, but then you're also seeing how the Empire go about their business. And even though it sounds like it's political when they're talking, the bigger picture on what they deem important, without any spoilers, with what they're looking for and how this rebellion kind of starts with literally just a spark of stealing this part, selling it, and doing that. I think it's just so good that, especially for me being an Empire dark side guy, I want to see how they do, but I also want Andor to do well as well. So that's why I think it's good for anyone coming in, because they'll like the good guys, but they'll also like the bad guys in it.
Shows a different part to
100%.
the Star Wars universe as well, because obviously it's not focusing on Jedi and Sith, it's focusing on the IBS, the Imperial Security Bureau, is how they deal with like you say, insurgents and things like that, how an authoritarian government effectively, how they would deal with that sort of thing. And whereas in the films you just saw, we'll just send an invader and a legion of stormtroopers and just have him slaughter some people and whatnot. It world builds the franchise a lot more, and I think it's another appealing thing to it.
To be fair, hopefully we talked about it before. Hopefully, with Andy Serkis again being another big name that was tied to it, we only see him for a couple of episodes, but he just draws you in just on the screen. The sets, they were shooting that during COVID. During that time, and I remember seeing Diego Luna, isn't it, who plays Andor, talking about the fact that they were shooting it during COVID, so everyone's having to wear masks. Then they're taking them off during the scene, and they're in literally like cells, and they felt like they were in prison. Like they shot it like say 60 days in a row, doing the same 5-6 scenes, whatever, and it just felt like hell to them. Some people got claustrophobia. some people got some amnesia, you know, from all of this stuff that was happening.
That adds to the realism.
Oh
of that
my
particular
goodness, yeah,
of
the
episodes.
performance, yeah. When people are losing it in this prison, you felt like it was relatable to that there literally was only one way out
Well,
to get out of there. So
that's one of the reasons as well as why I think quite a lot of people have got behind the Andor series is because they are, you know, it's all being filmed on these proper sets and things, whereas the Mandalorian has been it's the what is it, the void or something. It's the volume. That's it. Yeah. Whereas obviously Andor, it's all on proper sets, and like you say, it's tight sets. The locations, it makes it
definitely
gives it that more realism to it, and I think, like I say, it affects the performance that are put forward by those characters, the actors, and it makes it a lot better. I'm not tarnishing what the Mandalorian's done, because obviously, again, Lucasfilm especially, they've always been a production company that has jumped technology and film development forward. One of the main things about Star Wars is that it's jumped the way films have been made forward each time they've brought out a new set of films. But
20 years this year for the Star Wars.
Yes,
It was
yes,
announced
another
yesterday, so that was.
the anniversary is the animation side of it. It's 20 years old.
So that's another celebration for Star Wars. You know, I had the privilege a couple of years ago to go to Seville, and one of the scenes from again Attack of the Clones when they go into like some council chamber for the Jedi's. It's set in the Seville University there, and I got to go through, and they've literally got it cordoned off. They don't use that part of the university anymore, and you can just go in and take pictures and have a tour and whatever. And that was so good. Like, you know, when they go over like a bridge, and there's like water underneath. We were walking past there, and people were just taking it for granted. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm here. Like,
you get people that do that in I can't remember what lake it is in Italy, but obviously where where they're on the Naboo and
they get married and stuff,
and whatnot. And it's the same with in London. You get people that walk down those steps at St Paul's Cathedral pretending to be Cybermen from the 60s.
Because those were so CGI heavy and computer graphics heavy, like you forget that they might have actually used real locations.
Well, yeah, there's I can't remember. Yeah, like the apartment building that they. Or Padme's house that they stay in Attack of the Clones, it's on the lake.
Yeah, you can stay there, can't you?
You can stay there and things like that. You can rent it out. So there are
Joe,
places
if you're watching
still...
this.
They just take advantage of it, don't they? Because they know that Star Wars fans are like, oh, I'll go there. And the Lake District saw I know obviously they get loads of tourists, millions of tourists every year, but I think they saw an increase when people realised that literally it's just that one shot of in Force Awakens with the Millennium Falcon's flying down when he gets to Maz's castle. It's just a shot of a helicopter just panning across one of the lakes in the Lake District, and that just saw a boost in tourism the year after that film came out because everyone just wanted, well, this is where the Millennium Falcon flew past. Yeah, it's one of them things.
Weird where you film bits like that.
Yeah.
Star Wars is all around us, guys. It's all around us.
Ready Player One, the Spielberg film.
Yes.
I think it may have been that. I might be thinking of a completely different film. But they apparently they filmed a number of scenes under Spaghetti Junction in Birmingham. For anyone that's not watching in the UK, Spaghetti Junction is just a load of roads that go over it. It looks like a plate of spaghetti, but they filmed like a load of stuff underneath, and you can see it as you're going past on the train. To go into the center, you can see the film crews all there doing stuff like that. It's weird where they turn up, especially in the UK, where it's obviously been a bit more condensed compared to America. You just pick them up anywhere.
So even though we're talking about Star Wars, we have to have the Midland reference.
Sorry,
I'm pretty certain Worksworth. I think it was in the Quarry.
Tom Cruise, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was Tom Cruise as well. Yeah, they did
yeah.
Mission Impossible as well. Yeah.
Was it the train crash or the barrack jump?
I think it was both. So they did. They built that however long it was line track, which then obviously went off into the quarry and they drove the train off. And then I think he also did the bike stunt as well, somewhere up in the Peak District as well. So he'd done his day of filming and whatnot, and then because it's Tom Cruise and you know he does what he likes. Well, I'm done, lads. He just jumps into his helicopter and then just takes off and whatnot. And then apparently he was like running out of fuel and he just landed in someone's rather sizable garden.
Yeah,
he just lands in someone's garden in the Midlands and just I'm so sorry. Waiting for someone to turn up with fuel for his helicopter, and obviously I think he bought the people lunch or something like that. Or just because he was filming up the road. Oh, I've just not got enough fuel. I'll just land in this.
This plot of land.
This plot of land. It may have been like a farmer or something like that, but he just lands in the field and then.
Do you think that Anakin killing kids was bad? Tom Cruise killed all these cows. Confirmed.
Just has no respect for lawn maintenance.
That'll be the next star casting, Tom Cruise.
Yeah, maybe. Whose is everyone's favourite Star Wars character? If you had to pick one, and why? Well, they have to sell it to me, but
Mine's always been Palpatine.
You have always said.
I
Yeah.
love him. I just love him.
you think the casting it was perfect?
Yeah,
Ian McDermott.
Really McDermott. He just lives it, doesn't he? Even when he went to Celebration in 23, and you can see he's getting more and more frail, and his voice is starting to go in. He's still finding that energy to live that role, isn't he?
it's the reason why I don't mind Rise of Skywalker, because I like him so much. I just can't
No, don't get me wrong. I agree. They
Nobody
always
needs it.
Palpatine always did need to come back because he is the overarching villain of all three trilogies. But I just can't get behind the film in general. But I do like
totally get
Palpatine
it.
coming
I
back.
know, I just like-
can't
Somehow
deny it.
he's returned.
I know it's stupid.
It's that line that does it
Everything
somehow.
about it.
Palpatine's return.
I get it. They've like squashed like 2 films into one and retconned what happened before, and it's there's so much of it that's just doesn't make sense. But I just like seeing Palpatine again because he's my favourite character.
Yeah.
He's just evil. He's hammy. He's everything you expect
Yeah.
from a,
You can even make politics look fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he like his story through the prequels that's the interest. That's really like because the way he's controlling everything. It's really
He manipulates everyone,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
that's it.
Do you feel like though, even though he's really good, if like he hadn't have had Jar Jar Binks to help him, he wouldn't have rose to the.
We haven't got those emergency powers from Jar Jar.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about that?
Well, Jar Jar was manipulating Palpatine at that point.
Yeah, Darth Jar. I'm looking forward to the episode where we just talk about Darth Jar Jar for a while.
I might have to come back to you on my favourite
Yeah,
character.
no.
I'm going to have to come back to you in a bit. And Matt, yours? You got one? Want to come back to it?
Yeah, I suppose Han Solo's a pretty cool character, isn't he?
Yeah, that's good. My choice.
It's going to be yours.
Because especially in the original trilogy, he's such a like he just owns the screen, doesn't he? Harrison Ford on the screen.
Yeah.
So it's like a lovable Rogan.
Why are you picking Han?
It's cool. You want to be Han Solo.
That's
that's
it,
why.
quite-
Everyone wants to fly around in a spaceship and shoot guns, basically. I'm saying the guy, right, kill me off in the second one. He actually gave him more money. He went, yeah, I'll come back and do a third one. You got to admire him for that. Going, yeah, just take the dollar, mate. Take run with it.
Are you going to give us yours, or do you want to?
Yeah, no, as you heard me say before, I'm a big dark side guy, so I'm more of like an evil character. Not that I can relate to that, because I think I'm like the biggest goody two shoes. And I think that's probably why I like some of the bad guys, because it's very different to the type of person that I am. Thrawn is my favourite. Obviously, it's relatively new to the live action, and it's really good that they kept the original voice actor. From that, I'm very big on the books. Heir to the Empire, even like the 3 new ones, which Timothy Zahn came out with.
Very good. I've not read those.
They are really good. I read them and listened to them on the audiobook, because I used to work nights at the time, so I used to listen to them during my shift. And just his ability to come up with plans really quickly, and think outside the box, and even outmaneuver someone like Anakin. I think he was probably the first person, or the only person at the time, to realise that Anakin was Darth Vader. When he was working alongside Palpatine. Again, Palpatine, as you say, controlling all these different pieces, even though Thrawn is such a big bad guy, Palpatine still had a hold over him because of the fear of the Empire taking over the Chiss Empire, in the Outer Worlds. So I just think he's so good, and there's so much more that can be added to him in Ahsoka Season 2. They did make him look a little bit silly, I think, at the end of Season 1, where he couldn't have predicted all of these things that happened with, Sabine and, Ahsoka. And I think that actually kind of worried him a little bit when he found out that Ahsoka was, Anakin's Padawan. So he was kind of like, oh, okay. But he just always finds a way to win, and that's the biggest thing for me. with him, and I'm a big Dooku fan as well. I've got to give a shout to Daddy Dukes, as I call him. He's,
again, another underused character, I think, in the films at least. Obviously, again, they flesh out Dooku in the Clone Wars, but when you're bringing in, I know obviously at the time he was doing Lord of the Rings as well, but when you're bringing in Christopher Lee, I mean,
again, someone that owns the screen like a
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, with the reputation that even though Revenge of the Sith is my favourite and he gets killed after like 24 minutes,
he has a presence, doesn't he, on
he's
screen?
just there. Something was different. You know, we talked about Maul earlier with the lightsaber. Him having a different lightsaber was cool and was different to people where they were like, actually, I see, you know, the fencing background, you know, kind of thing with Christopher Lee that helped him design his thing, whether or not he had a say in that. Like
I think he did, because he was saying he's got, or he had, a proper classical fencing training and things like that. And he's like, well, he saw Dooku as very much, and again, he's fleshed out in the TV series. But Dooku is a very much the refined gentleman, elegant Jedi, obviously, because he comes from nobility before he was a Jedi, and then he goes back to it. So his lightsaber design is to accommodate his fighting style. That he's the form that Dooku fights is all about being aggressive, but putting everyone on the back foot. And the fact that he has a curved blade is supposed to comes from real lore in terms of swords and things like that. The curved blade sort of helps you get that advantage over your opponent.
Especially because other Jedis and Sith learn different stances, which you require different things. Then you add the curve of the lightsaber. It then changes that stance even more.
Yeah.
So a lot of Jedis would be stance 3, stance 5, would then add that curve. It's a different stance 3 to the regular.
And that was input from Christopher Reeve, from his real life training that he's had in fencing in real life. So again, underused. I like Dooku. I think he's a very good character. I wouldn't probably have him up there as being my favourite. I do lean more towards, I'd say, Maul is one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Anakin, Vader, obviously. And then depends on my mood, really. I sort of go either between Obi-Wan or Vader, depending on what mood I'm in. God, if I had Vader's abilities, there'd be so many people force choked at work.
Yes. They would never know it was you either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't even have to do it with that. I'd do it with my mind, like he does to. What's the name of the admiral that he chokes just through the screen in Empire? And you're like, you're in charge now, Admiral Piet. Yeah, I'd go with either Vader, Maul, or.
So I know who I most hate. There's obviously quite a few people that I disliked for Star Wars. I've got a couple which I don't really like. So obviously, the obvious one that people go to would be someone like a Jar Jar Binks, but you have that Darth Jar Jar side that helps me bring him up. Obviously, on the newest ones, someone like a Rose Tico, who again got so much slack and hate because of the relationship with Finn and John Boyega, bringing his character down from the potential that he probably had after Force Awakens, and potentially
having you want to get into, isn't it, about John Boyega?
Yeah, he was the reason why I went to go and see it. Obviously, I love Star Wars, but now I knew he was
John
in
Boyega?
it. Yeah, I'm a big Finn defender. So.
John Boyega said quite a lot about his character and stuff, and how he was basically screwed over in the last one. It's even in the advertising for Force Awakens and stuff, he was a prominent character, wasn't he? And
in the first trailer, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it was he might be a new, a new Jedi or something. And I thought it was quite an interesting spin on a character that he was basically came from the Empire and was going to
that redemption
chose
story.
not to follow them basically.
And especially because we've had obviously people come from bad to good, but not in a soldier to Jedi big training.
And that's especially when you look at the trailer for The Force Awakens, like Marc just said, the opening shot of that trailer is Finn taking his helmet off. Oh, he's a stormtrooper. You're focusing straight on a stormtrooper. And then as that trailer progresses, it finishes with him igniting Luke's lightsaber, Anakin's lightsaber. And it's all hinted throughout that film, and that he was going to be. He's Force sensitive. I know they still sort of hint at that in Rise of Skywalker because he gets completely overlooked in Last Jedi. And it's hinted that he's still Force sensitive and he could still go on, but you got that feeling that you say, "Ooh, this is a hugely missed opportunity from what you were being teased."
Well, imagine as an actor, they said, "Right, this is going to be sort of your story arc," and then to go, "Actually, no, we're leaving you, and you're going to be the comic relief." You're going to be a bit pissed off. If you say, "Oh, I'm going to be this big major character," then you just sort of, like you say, get sidelined.
Do you think with actors like that, obviously we don't know the industry, do you think he like committed to say 3 movies and then he's already committed, so he can't then just pull out? It's a a money thing or a legal thing that then he's just stuck with that bow. Do you think?
Yeah, they would have all had to have committed to 3 films when they were offered the role.
Robert Downey Jr. I think he signed for 6.
6 films originally for
So
Iron Man,
Disney work like that. They go, right, we've got a character, we've now got an actor. We want 3 films out of you.
I'm not obviously going against. You obviously read out some more of his comments in a minute. I'm not going against what he has said. It's not going to help that you've gone from J.J. Abrams writing and directing the first one to then Rian Johnson writing the second. Those changes in writer and directors has completely tarnished his character arc. So he's gone from being this. I don't want to say that Finn was a villain, but obviously he's working for the First Order. Yeah. He's then realised that this what they're all about isn't for him. He then joins the Resistance, so he could have had a really good character development story arc. But then, because whatever it was that made JJ drop out of the 3, and they brought Rian Johnson in, and he had his own ideas, and then he drops out again, and they bring JJ Abrams back. That's had a knock-on effect, not just on Finn's character. I think Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron, his character gets,
especially when he gets
sidelined as well.
He gets stuck on that ship, doesn't he?
Yeah.
With Grand Admiral Hollow to try and get out, and he's being restricted to over the Resistance, which he's been doing this whole time. He's been dumbed down, hasn't he? So I think me and Matt were talking on the way here as well about like what they've been doing with the Marvels, like what if, like if they ever did like a what if with Star Wars, because there's so many questions out there like, if Anakin had been trained by Qui-Gon, would it have been different? But then obviously that's the whole reason why he had to die, So,
what if Anakin had the high ground, stuff like that? Do you know what I mean? Just like good stories if they did that. People would watch
Darth Vader at full strength,
I think that's one of the reasons why the What If series for Marvel is actually done quite well, is because it is giving people those sort of alternative fantasies and sidelines.
Do what you want without any repercussions.
Yeah, exactly. So they could do that with Star Wars as well, and I think it would do rather well.
That's it.
You're listening, Disney. Us 5,
New series coming out, trademark. So yeah, I think that could be pretty good, and there's just again more stories that I don't know how they do it, but they keep pulling it, pulling more and more out of this, that's already there. And we just keep buying in, don't we? Keep buying in every time. I love it.
Essentially, he said that basically Star Wars has just continued to be a majority of like a white franchise, essentially. So like he basically says that any minority character basically just gets sidelined. Because like you look at the original trilogy and you've got like everyone always goes, "Oh, we had Lando," and we're like, he doesn't really have a story, does he? He's not like one of the main heroes or anything, and then it's like basically persisted until like modern times. That's why his character was kind of like sidelined, and like Rey and Kylo were like basically the main. And even arguably, Oscar Isaac didn't really do loads, did he? And Rose Tico was not used well or anything, so it's probably. And even in more modern things, like Obi-Wan, like that Inquisitor. She got like loads of stuff.
Reva or whatever,
She
got
way
loads of stuff. Yeah, horrible stuff.
I'm saying to Mark before we started, the Acolyte has obviously that has been
really
panned and whatnot
really
in the media. And if it was being panned purely for the storyline, I'd understand it because I wasn't overly fond of the storyline of the Acolyte. But they aren't. They were panning it and saying that Lucasfilm and Disney are woke because of how diverse the cast is. They've tried to properly diversify the cast, and that's what the critics and things all went for. When realistically, it wasn't that was the problem. It was the plot. The plot was not great. Although recently, from what I hear, I don't know, they might confirm this at Celebration this weekend, but it has actually seen an upturn in viewership on Disney Plus, and now they're apparently looking at greenlighting a second series.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
So it's become almost like Firefly at this point. When it first came out, didn't get the viewership and whatnot, so they cancelled it. And now it's started to build up a bit of a fan base and whatnot, and now they're thinking of bringing it back and doing a second series or doing a spin-off from it. We might get more Plagueis, maybe.
That was like
Yeah,
due to the
that's
controversy then, was it? People just watch it out of curiosity.
Yeah, but the original reason for panning it wasn't to do with the storyline. It was just the fact that Disney's woke, Lucasfilm's woke because they've hired someone from they've hired a Korean actor. They've hired
the other black gentleman. Did one of the
it's too diverse. The witch cult. You saw things where they're all lesbians because they've created their daughters through the Force and things like that.
They did change some of the. I didn't go away through it. I might give it another try.
Yeah,
It's boring to be honest. That's what I thought.
Well, that's the plot, isn't it? Yeah.
That was my thing. It had nothing to do with the characters. It's just
I thought
it didn't grip me, but they did bring in the character. Then they
Plagueis.
No, not Plagueis.
The
Conehead man.
the Sith.
The Sith guy.
No,
With the match.
No, I'm rubbish.
Jedi.
Kelly-Monday,
yeah.
That's another thing in the whole thing.
That's
His birthday.
They
His birthday
changed
changed.
Yeah.
So it made him dead old. He couldn't have been alive. during that
Apparently
time.
it wouldn't have been. Yeah.
Why mess around? We had quite an important line in the Sith have been.
Sith have been a sin for millennia.
Yeah, but then it turns out he knew that they were about.
He was just all about covering up. He was the conspiracy, covering up the Sith, wasn't he?
Interesting. I don't know why you.
That's why all the Jedi, the hypocrites. I told you.
Yeah, but
that's why they don't.
feeds into the story, doesn't it? You see,
That's it.
there's no doubt.
Are you on Palpatine's payroll?
How long you got?
I don't always agree with trying to. This is just in general, like trying to, because they try and give you the backstory to bad guys, and they were just, they had a bad childhood. Sometimes I kind of just like having a bad person and a good person, and keep it simple. And
I did it. The thing about the Acolyte was I actually enjoyed the actual premise of an Acolyte, like someone that either got failed by the Jedi or the Sith. Again, maybe because Count Dooku is one of my favourites, and he kind of falls, and he's not really. I don't really class it. He is a Sith, but I wouldn't really class him as like someone that's dark or lost. He's got his own thoughts and feelings and what he wants to do while using Palpatine. Really, was his plan. Being like an Acolyte, trying to kill without physically killing. Sometimes it was like her mission, wasn't it, for Osha, to try and kill without.
Couldn't touch them or use
couldn't use a weapon to kill. So it was mainly to use the Force and anything at her disposal, throughout when all these people start dropping, all the people that had wronged, throughout that time. And then, again, I'm a big Plagueis fan because, with Palpatine being his master and stuff, and reading his book, which, again, is it canon, is it not canon? Him coming back in that show might mean that his story is canon. So yeah, Acolyte, again, one of those ones that in 5 years' time, people are going to like, I think. That they immediately react and then give it some time and people will be feeling different. I just feel that's how it's going to be.
That is another example of using star power though as well, because Carrie Ann Moss was in like loads of the advertising for that. And spoilers, she does not last very long.
She did it for all of one episode, didn't she?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. The first episode. Oh dear. Yeah, especially because that was on the like you say, on the marketing. That this person was. And you're like, oh, this is going to go. Oh, maybe not.
They even give her the Matrix treatment, don't they? She does like a Trinity sort of things and whatnot, and then next thing you know, she's written out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose if you look at Andor, that's got a more slightly diverse cast, I suppose, than main Star Wars. Obviously,
Yeah, it has again, but
Obviously, Andor is like.
I think the
Nice.
reason why no one's gone after Andor for being woke for having a diverse cast is because it is a good storyline and plotline and things like that. Whereas Acolyte just fell apart in terms of its plot. It had some good bits in there. Like I say, the Plagueis tease and I can't remember the stranger. I can't remember what his actual name was. But, you know, he's teased as being like, is he Plagueis' apprentice before Palpatine?
Yeah.
Things like that.
He's putting doubt in loads of people's minds throughout that time. I think that's the biggest thing, that because Star Wars has such a big influence, you know, you look at the big sci-fi genre between like Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, you know, even like Game of Thrones and stuff, where the fans are so opinionated that then when it's not done the way they like, it's then different and then it's wrong, and then that's why these actors get the hate, these shows get the hates, and I think we need to step back and just be thankful, especially for our universe here in Star Wars. There's some bits that aren't getting added to. If you look until like Harry Potter, up until recently, they weren't going to add anything different to that universe, but we keep getting more and more and more. And I think sometimes we should maybe be thankful for that, but I think that's just my opinion with that. I don't know how other people feel about that.
Oh, you're right about that. There's not many franchises, well, non-Disney franchises these days that. I mean, how many spin-off series is there a year? Is it 3, something like that?
Same with Marvel. They'll whack out 2 or 3, either a film or a series or whatnot a year.
I know you've not had a cinema release since the last one, which is a few years. But yeah, take
2019 wasn't it? I think the last one.
it's quite a gap, but even that gap between the last film and hopefully your next one, you've got all these mini-series to
I've had about 7 or 8 different series.
I mean, Doctor Who, you're getting 8 episodes a year. And that's pretty much it. And a 5-part spin-off no one cares about. But
What do you mean you don't want to see a 5-parter about the Sea Devils going to war with humans?
I didn't like the first story or the Sea Devils. I'm not that bothered about them really. But it's even if you carried on doing the films once every 2 years, you've got these series to fill the gaps in. It keeps the audience fresh and hungry, hopefully hungry for more. But now because it's Disney, they seem to maybe have oversaturated the market. Well, especially Marvel has.
One of the other talking points we were going to bring up is has Disney, with its oversaturation, sort of broken the franchise? Maybe.
Essentially, the question was: is like Star Wars dying, or is it being like reborn for like a new generation? What would you think?
I think
is it something that's dwindling, or do you think it's
whatever they do the end of this year? You know, we've had Kathleen Kennedy at the helm for a lot of this, and obviously she's got plans to retire and step away and do some maybe. Yeah.
She's not said retire.
Well, I'm hoping so.
She's still saying.
I'm manifesting now. Putting it out there.
She's still staying in the movie business. She
Stepping
might
away
not
from
be
Star Wars.
Lucasfilm anymore. Is the quotes that have come out this week.
So I hope I'm putting it out there. You've heard it here first on Middle and Earth. But you know the direction, and hopefully whoever takes the helm, and if there's someone directively in charge of it, and then different people coming in for different projects, that's going to be the make or break, I think, for it moving forward for me anyway.
Filoni or Favreau for the win.
Yeah, well, it's Starboy, isn't he? From selected by the main man himself.
He's effectively George Lucas's heir to take over, won't he? So
if George Lucas believes in it, then I've got to believe in it myself, and I think he's got only the best for it, and thinks, we talked about it many times today, just having people that are fans of Star Wars and want the best for Star Wars will hopefully put that into the product. In whatever line of work you do, if you enjoy it and you care about it, that should be represented in your work. So,
saying you enjoy your work?
Yeah, work.
What is this
Don't
enjoyment
get that
of work?
Don't get that on quote.
It's hard. I think although I didn't enjoy that, like they're kind of going on the right track by putting stuff out that wasn't part of the timeline. Do you know what I mean? Just trying to do something new, and I think they need to do that, because they say it muddies the water too much, and that's why they've got messed up a bit, because they started to mess around with the timeline went in. They didn't need to do it. And I think if they're going to do anything going forward, they need to start fresh. They need it to. Like, I don't really see a point in them, and they're probably going to announce it, aren't they? Doing like a Rage trilogy. I just think just start again. Just like not remake them, but just start with some new stories. I think that's why we have enjoyed Andor, because it's looking into that sort of area which you've never really seen before in the Star Wars universe, and how that Rebel sort of stuff happened, and how the middle management of the Empire did its business. That's what it is, though, isn't it? Like, you know, and those sort of stories are quite interesting. Like, I've not seen this before. I know that there's this bigger stuff going on, but I don't know what happened here.
So it's still set in the familiarity of what you know, but you're getting fresh ideas and fresh characters and whatnot. And I think that's probably is, like you say, one of the reasons why Andor is enjoyed. Might be why the Acolyte is now starting to pick up again, and because it's not focusing on the Skywalkers. You've had your 9 films, 6 films depending on your point of view. But yeah, if they start taking that fresh approach, it's still within the same universe, so it still feels like it should be.
Polarised too much. Like Kenobi was supposed to be like smash. It was supposed to be a film, and then it got made into a series, and then that polarised people. I didn't mind the series Kenobi. I thought it was okay, but
I enjoyed it.
Some people absolutely hated it. And it's one of them. It's because you're taking characters that people know, and you're never going to make everyone happy. It's just
people put Obi-Wan Kenobi on this pedestal, and then he looked weak, didn't he? You know, he didn't look like he was the almighty, you know, true Jedi that people hopefully see him as. You know, the truest to the Jedi morals, maybe other than someone like a Yoda or someone like that. You know, because everyone had their own quirks. You know, Anakin, someone like Mace Windu. You know, we've got someone like a Plo Koon who could have really been seen like that, and whatever. And I think that when you have a series like that, you bring them off that pedestal, bring them back down to reality. That hey, Obi-Wan's weak as well. You know, when he gets put in this situation, anyone put in his situation would have done exactly what he would have done. So I think now they've got this clear canon, if that's how they're going to stick, and there's so many things around it that they can't change. So, you know, we're talking about Andor. We know that they can only have 2 seasons, because then by the end of that it goes into Rogue One, which is canon. So I'm already starting to think, okay, in this season, you know, this person's not in Rogue One, so maybe they're gonna die or something like that. And again, even though that's okay to know, it's still exciting to say, oh, how are they going to do this, because they're not seen here. So it's okay to be a bit predictable, but when they are unpredictable, it means even more, I think. With Star Wars, at least, anyway. Maybe not in Marvel and everything else moving forward. Some head scratches there. So, yeah.
See, I think that's why the first couple of seasons of The Mandalorian did well, because it was a new story, wasn't it? It wasn't tied to anything. There was like stuff going off around, but like it was focused on Din and Grogu and stuff on it.
The universe is so big.
I don't know. I think that's probably why the 3rd season kind of went a bit funny, because it tried to like weave it into like the Mandalorians and Bo-Katan and stuff, and it kind of got a bit jumbled.
Yeah, but how cool was it to see Luke in that level?
I mean, that was alright. But then they kind of just undid it, didn't they? And just brought Grogu back in. Like, no, I can't take him away.
Yeah, because he sold loads of merch.
That was definitely the Disney higher ups at that point going. For me personally, I think it would have worked better. You know, Luke's taken Grogu off, and that's it.
That's his school.
Maybe he would come back in the Empire film type thing, but you know he's got. But then, yeah, he sold so much merchandise. We've got to bring him back. So then you have the Book of Boba Fett becoming Mandalorian 2.5, just so they can bring Grogu back for merchandise rights.
Creative issues being overwritten by money people. I mean, honestly, how many of these do you think they've sold worldwide?
Grogu.
I mean, if you write him out of your popular show, are you going to sell these?
That was Baby Yoda, is that not Baby
And breathe. Yeah, that's what they were, to be fair, until we knew his name, that's literally how they were merchandising it.
Baby Yoda,
and that's why like loads of that merchandise as Baby Yoda is like worth loads of money, because now we know what his name is and stuff. And even people that don't like Star Wars know him as Baby Yoda, so they might as well just keep going. Oh yeah, it's Baby Yoda, mate. It's one of the things I did enjoy, finding out over time. They didn't really know how good Star Wars was going to be originally. For the original trilogy, and bringing in these unknown actors and stuff like Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, and asking that they didn't really have the money to really pay them, and hearing, I don't know if this is true, but they gave them like a merchandising deal or something as like part of their contract payment, because I don't think they could pay them all at that one time, after like the first and second film, and they said, okay, well, we'll give you say 20-30% of the market, the merchandise sales for Star Wars, and then obviously we had that massive gap between like the 70s, 80s to the 2000s.
Is that still ongoing?
It's still ongoing, I think. So even though he wasn't in it again until back in 2014 onwards, he would still, someone like Mark Hamill might still get some money. I know
George Lucas got that.
He definitely gets hold of it.
Yeah.
They didn't care.
Well, that was one of the things.
It's a naff sci-fi film. Yeah, keep your toy money. It's what's made him.
The genius of Lucas was that he knew that the merchandise side of things was worth it. That's why they. 20th Century Fox. You want to make toys? Yeah, you can do that because they thought he's never going to make any money.
Bet on yourself.
Yeah, and he did. And you won.
It was just said of recovery, because if you look at most of the 80s cartoons that came out, they were toys first that they did the cartoons on, and the cartoons were just like hour-long or half-an-hour commercials for the toys.
Yeah.
Transformers, Thundercats, I know this is
Ninja
Turtles. So it was the toys came out first, and then the cartoons.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's not what he did, but like he must have known this film is going to just advertise the toys for me. And that's why he's brought Ewoks out. Could be the only reason. Toys.
And all the droids and stuff. Now as well, we've got Grogu, we've got all these droids,
That's why you have so many variants of stormtroopers, because you can then just go, oh, there's another action figure, because it's a different. Even if they're just changing the helmet, or they just add a stripe down one side or something, it's a new level of marketing. And now that the mouse has got hold of it, it's even more.
That's like Batman and Robin film with Warner Brothers reading the script going, can you make it more toy-tastic? So that's why you've got George Clooney changing costume about 3 times in the film, because it's 3 different Batman figures you can do. Yeah. Let's give him a car. Let's also give him a bike.
A boat and a plane.
It's all about toy money.
You ought to be cynical, but it almost always is going to be that, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially these days. Yeah. I mean, if you've got a hit franchise, you can make your own figures. You can link up with Lego. You can do all this other stuff and keep the money rolling in.
That's why
your shareholders happy.
That's why
your shareholders happy.
Say programs like Power Rangers, they change up every series because bang, we can release a new Megazord toy because it's 5, and then you put them together because you're never going to get it all in one. It's 5 individual Zords that make you Megazord. Ncuti Gatwa, his doctor, hasn't got a set costume since it's a different figure now that BBC. Well, they're behind, but he gets a new costume every single episode, so that you can have new action figures every time.
Whereas before, backfired a bit because it's not as popular as it once was.
No, it's not as popular.
They can't afford to make them figures.
Christopher Eccleston, his doctor would change the jumper, so you'd either have a green one or a blue one or a red one. So there's 3 different figures. David Tennant would have his brown suit, his blue suit, and his tuxedo. 3 figures. Matt Smith, blue bow tie, red bow tie, and then he obviously had his purple long coat. So 3 figures. So they just they did it ever so often. They would give it a little bit of
and a fez.
But Ncuti Gatwa, different costume every single episode. The mouse has taken over because they're just looking at it going, we can just make him like Stormtrooper toys. Different. But like Marc just said, it's backfired on them massively because it's just not got that traction that it used to have.
It's not really over to Star Wars. No. Star Wars, you might have 5 different variants of Stormtrooper, but you can guarantee your 5 Lego figures of them will sell because there's a built-in audience. Doctor Who sort of lost its way that way. But Disney's, say what you want about the quality of the films and the series, they they've not lost an inch on merchandising. They know what they're doing, and they will get as much out as we can.
I was very blessed to go to Florida last year to go to Universal Studios and go to where they have like a dedicated Star Wars area. And literally, it's just all marketing for, now you can ride the Millennium Falcon, and now you'll do this, and let's build your lightsaber and build a droid and do all this. And yes, it's things that people want to fulfill their fantasies with those things. But then there's, why are you here? And you burn your lightsaber. Why not buy this stand for your kyber crystal that you can put on the side? Hey, why not have this so it can glow in the dark? Why not have this carry bag so you can take your droid everywhere with you on your backpack?
Are you thirsty? Here, have a can of Coke. But the can of Coke looks like a thermal detonator.
It literally was. It's so good. Sponsored by Coca-Cola. Hashtag not sponsored.
But it was all written in Arabic.
Yeah, it's all in, yeah. It's all descriptive and stuff. So yeah, it's all marketing alongside hopefully a good product. Because if not, the things don't go to it hand in hand, do they? You know. So what can they do in Andor season 2 that they can sell? Get a Cassian Andor beard and wig to look like your favourite Andor character. That's what I'm thinking.
We brought back Director Krennic and de-aged him by 2 years. New action figure.
Honestly.
Yeah, Krennic's back.
He's back. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what he.
K2SO's coming back as well.
I'm excited for that.
I'm to like back.
Is Vader in it, or is Vader not in it, or do we not?
Now, there's been another trailer released at Celebration for Andor, and the female IBS officer,
the blonde woman. Yeah, she's scary.
Isn't his voice in the trailer?
I've not heard his voice, but at one point there's I've seen a still of her
reported. Oh,
so she's being force choked by someone. Whether it's Vader, it could be Palpatine. Maybe he makes an appearance instead. He doesn't really force choke people though. He just
They don't want to show off.
One of them fake shots they put in trailers
could be.
these days.
Could be.
You never saw the Avengers running in the forest.
It could very well just be. Maybe it's maybe she was just taking the mick in production, and she's just gone, wouldn't it be cool if I... And they just put it in there to trick people. But there are teasing that maybe Vader will appear, or... I mean, with it dealing more with, like you said, the middle management of the Empire would probably make more sense. Maybe if you have, like, Palpatine, or... I know they can't really bring Tarkin back again, because they've already done that, but...
He's one of my least favourite characters. I was going to mention him earlier.
Least favourite?
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Fan of Governor Tarkin?
He's up there with like the most kills in Star Wars.
Well, yeah, because he did blow up a planet.
Yeah. So, but not
in the comfort of his slippers, because you never got a shot of
his feet.
Full costume. He's always in slippers.
He's just wearing a dress underneath.
But again, that's something that Peter Cushing, big name at the time.
Yeah.
He could turn around and go, "Yeah, George, I don't like your boots, so every shot I'm going to be in, it's going to be a mid shot or above, so I can wear my slippers." What's that? Harrison, bring me my pipe.
But yes, if we do see Darth Vader or someone like that, we'll be probably messaging each other saying, "Guys, look at this, look at this."
Obviously, we all enjoyed the Vader cameo in Rogue One. Obviously, they added the hallway scene at the end, and it just elevated Vader. Would Vader appearing in Andor Season 2 take away from it? Do you think it would have a bit of a negative effect?
Because of how different it is.
Yeah.
When you have into that comfort. Maybe because we might not have too many gamers, but we have the 2 last Star Wars games being around an individual story. Cal Kestis, the Jedi survivor, basically. Ginger Jedi. First Ginger Jedi.
Well, Obi-Wan.
It's just the lighting that make him this guy is like pure ginger.
All right, yeah, he's a proper ginger, true ginger.
Sorry. But yeah, like they add Darth Vader cameos at the end of it. Spoiler. They've been out like 6 years.
Vader appears.
And it takes away from his story that yes, he's around during that time, but he didn't need to be there. It was just, wouldn't it be really cool if Vader was at the end? And then you start hearing him breathing, and you're like, but it's not. So yeah, maybe I think you're right. If you had it,
have a negative
maybe
effect?
I don't think he needs to be in it.
No.
Shows lack of trust. You think your show's not going to stand. Let's have a cameo. Sort of, no, stand on your own feet. Don't just expect a cameo in it.
So hopefully this shot that I've seen then of this, I can't remember the character's name.
I'll be cursing you then.
It looks like she is being force choked. So hopefully it is
I think
like you
he
say.
will be
Maybe
in
they've
it.
done
You think
what
he will
Marvel
now,
have done, and we'll put
Put
a
that shot
tease
in.
in there.
I think him or Palpatine, one of those two, would be in it.
You reckon?
I just think they can't help themselves.
In like the last episode, one or
the
two.
last episodes,
Yeah.
one of the last episodes. I just don't think they can. You look at one side, you can't really talk about the Death Star without Vader and Palpatine.
Well, Tarkin as well.
But they're not involved in that story. Do
No.
you know what I mean? So they need to be in it. I don't think Disney will be able to help themselves. But
Well, if they do put Vader in, it will be the first time that he'll be being voiced by James Earl Jones as AI.
Oh. Yeah.
So obviously he gave Disney the rights to do that. If they use the character, they can AI his voice.
He got paid a lot of money for it though.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, I don't know Shackle, but I know that Yoda appears at the end of it.
yes,
Was that
just
necessary?
a little
They can
like,
help-
like a
they can't
silhouette
help
of him,
themselves,
but
can
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Was it necessary that Yoda was seen? Probably not. But I say that's why I know they can't.
So would it just be maybe like a silhouette of
Yeah, it
Palpatine?
might
maybe
just
you
be
just see
that.
the back of his
Yeah,
hood, or
with
you just
a
see
Death
Vader's
Star
outline.
in.
Check the group chat when it happens.
And then I'll be like, "Damn you, man! I'm at work. I've not seen it yet."
Oh, my bad.
Because, like I say, like, you just want to be able to trust that the show on itself is strong enough.
Yeah, you don't want to keep relying on nostalgia.
Yeah.
You can have a bit of that. I don't see a harm of a shadow of a popular characters appearing and you're not really seeing them. But if you bring in a character in for a 30-second cameo, just so people watch that episode and then people are writing articles on Screen Rant or sites like that, just to try and create traction for your series, it's a bit naff.
But do you think like something like a Kenobi that we were talking about, not having the right appeal potentially to what people were expecting, and then like Liam Neeson's at the end, and you're like, oh, like if they didn't have that, it'd be even worse than maybe what people think it was. Did that then save that maybe as well? So there's like the good and the bad.
Palpatine appearing at the end of Kenobi as well, didn't he? He had his little hologram chat with Vader. To Vader, you must just get over this Kenobi obsession, or
Yeah.
I'll be very angry with you. And it doesn't take much convincing, does he? He's like, yes, thy will be done.
Already out of my mind.
They had to show Liam Neeson because of the story they were telling.
Yeah.
To make it link how then he could speak to Luke and stuff like that.
Especially because he was just so lost, and at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and Yoda says that he's going to teach him how he can speak to him, and he's been trying the whole of the series, hasn't he? It's just like, I just need some help. I'm not going to get it from anyone else. I know you're not alive anymore, but I just need some help. And at the end, and he's just like, I've been waiting for you this whole time. It's just like, took you long enough.
You just weren't ready to see me.
I was like,
But,
no, these 10 episodes before this one to get people at the end. Yeah, so. But you can even say that we've already talked about the Acolyte with Plagueis because of the fact that he was around at that time. It fits the bill, let's just put him in. I don't know why he'd be there, but let's just put him there. And they'll have to tie these things. It's just got too many cookies in the jar to have to work with. So
If you'd like to let us know what your favourite Star Wars film is and characters, leave it in the comments. Do you agree with any of the opinions given today about people liking Rise of Skywalker and things like that? Please let us know.
Zoom camera.
as always, like, share, follow, subscribe. We'll see you all again soon.
May the Force be with you.
Or
Yeah. You like Rise of Skywalker.